Okay, and we're live. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to TFC. It's Open Mic Season 3, Episode 28. It's a Supremacy Mid-Raid. What did you title it, Rue? Can't quite remember. Mid-Raid what was it?
I guess basically just what your thoughts are.
What your thoughts are, that was it.
How goes it for you?
How goes it for you? That was it, yeah. Yeah, okay. How goes it for you? Yeah, I couldn't quite see it. Well, that's a good question. So we've got some people in the panel already. There's a few spaces, so hop in when you feel free. Brian's on. How you doing, buddy?
All right so far.
Oh, and all right so far. That's better than it normally is. Okay. Obviously, Robin's in. You just heard it. Hello,
Hello.
Lou. Hello. How you doing? Venom's in. How you doing, bud?
Hello.
Hello there. And Agni's in. Hello, mate.
Hey, what up?
And Earth should be coming on if he wakes up. I've sent him the link because he asked for it, but we'll see. He's a bit forgetful sometimes, but I'm sure he'll be in. And I've noticed in chat we've got Wayne in there moderating, and so is Ford. And Ford has popped the link in a couple of times. So if you want to come on, feel free. There's quite a few of the regulars in chat there. I've noticed on the live side. Sibon's in there. Obviously, Haffel's in there. Bill Hunt. I'm sure that's your real name, mate. Robert's back in again as well. Richard's there. There's a few people, so that's good. Okay, anyway, yeah, let's talk a raiding. Right, so I wish I had that picture of that flipping graphic equalizers, because that's what it's felt like for me for the last couple of days. 1 minute the power's, up here, then it's down there. The damage slider is definitely having a bit of a helter-skelter moment, I think. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Agni, how's it been going for you, mate?
Not bad, barring the bad lag the first 2 days. And, well, missile fleets have got to drive. No auto option on this, and a big disbalance between scatters and missiles. But then again, it's not that bad if one can tweak the fleet with the necessary components. I think it's pretty all right.
Okay, are you on a missile ships, are you? Or are you scattering?
Yeah, complete missile build.
Oh, wow.
I've tweaked it with a couple of the new antis that we did get, the Missile Defense System 3, and that does make a big difference, even just having one with the front line on. And yeah, it's pretty, apart from splash damage from the special missiles, I think it's a lot to do with driving, and if no lag, yeah, it's just seat time after that.
Yeah, frustrating, isn't it? I mean, somebody said to me earlier on, he says, I'm having lots of trouble when I'm autoing in the 104s. And I was like, oh, okay, what is it? What's wrong with your scatters? And he's like, no, it's a missile ship. And I was like, probably not the best ship to use if you're doing auto, but I don't know. And then I've just seen a build on the page as well, and I don't think the person is using the right armor. You've got 2 damage types coming towards you. You should have 2 damage types for the deflection and that sort of stuff. So there's still a little bit of confusion out there. That's the point, Even though it's the 3rd one in, we've got all levels of people and all levels of people, and still people still trying to build their first ever Manticore, which is, especially when they lock things away in behind lock stores, or they, go up the tree and then they put this new flipping dragon flagship that's in there as well, which everybody sort of like wants to get, maybe, especially if you haven't got a Kodiak, a Savage Kodiak, that's coming obviously for the FM changes, which I'm sure we'll talk about as well. So there's so much going on. I don't know. Venom, what are your thoughts, mate? How are you getting on?
I'm doing okay. I'm just rather displeased the Makara is put alongside the dragon when there's people who still need the Makara, but they can't do without the Inferno. It's a bit silly putting it in there. I'd rather have seen the Makara down at the bottom open for anyone, just like the normal Manticore. Same price, doesn't really matter, but just make it so it's not a choice that you either have to get. Well, you don't have to get either or, but it shouldn't be on that side to start with.
Or just allow everybody to claim both. I
thought they could claim both. Is that not the case?
Yes, I think you can.
Somebody said that they did it and they managed to claim both. I mean, I've got both, so I can't test it. But somebody came on the page a couple of days ago and said, "Oh, I've just picked up the Greta and I've just picked up the flagship for the Mantis as well." So, but I don't know, because most of us obviously have them anyway. But
chat's confirming that.
I had issues day 1 of claiming 2 things at once, but maybe they fixed it. Or maybe it was just me.
Oh yeah, Richard's on the chat. He said he did that today, so it's definitely doable. Yeah, I mean, I suppose there's a catch-22. If they put, because there's always it's like lower tier stuff. So we've got Skyfire and we've got Phoenix, and then there's something. So okay, so we've got the new flagship for the FM fleet because it's over that side, and then obviously they've got the rerun again of the flagship, which was in the lock last time, and now it's come forward and it's in the up in the ladder there. But if they didn't put it in there, then what would they do? Give us another hole that we really don't want? What would go there instead? Or would you put one of the proto ones there? I don't know. What the proto stuff, maybe?
Yeah, proto
Sentinels bits on the left side, and Greta's Inferno on the right, and Mankara down in the lock store. They have mishandled this in raids 2 and 3 of this cycle. First in raid 2, where they put it in the lock store, so it was actually 80 million to get instead of 40. And now where you have to choose whether you want this very powerful but probably almost necessary hull for either the raid or the FM. And I think it should the Mankara maybe should have been like 35 million this time and drop it in unlocked. Because as things go on in time and as more instances to acquire a thing happen, that thing loses its value.
No, agree.
Like how they're putting in the Manti at 10 million and they're advertising it like it's some giant thing. No, that should have been the case constantly because you're running a TLC every month to get at least parts for the Manti, if not the Manti itself. And it really should be available by now because everything is tuned to this, which works so differently from the previous year's fleet that it's no contest. You need the Mantis by now, and they need to be available by now. So 10 million is great, but don't act like you're doing something amazing. That's just what you should be doing, basically, as a designer, just thinking of design in general economic theory. Thanks, but meh.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that, and I definitely agree that I think that the price, obviously, for the flag at 40 now, seems we're into the third one. We've got one really VXP weekend, and then it's obviously the tech store raid next month as well. That's a lot of pressure to put on someone when there's also a flagship there for the Gretas, for the Dragons as well. To try and get both ships done and out before. I mean, which one would you do first? The FM's changing next week, literally, and the new targets. And then obviously this thing you need to do really, really well. And then which way do you go? Do you go missile? Or do you go flipping scat? I don't know. It's a lot to ask, isn't it?
The other thing is the armors that are in the lock store.
Yeah, has anybody tried those? I mean, I've had mixed reviews. I mean, I've seen that Ford's saying he finds them disappointing. I saw somebody saying he managed to lock 45 minutes off each of his hits for a set. And seeing different answers. So
yeah, we've actually had someone test, and we got some very surprisingly disappointing feedback from that. Now, if you have a fleet that's doing 2 sets before needing repair, the repair time on the fleet using the D5 COM is, say, I'm putting it at 5 hours 40 minutes, which was roughly the time after completing 2 sets. Now with the new armor on, it was reduced to 4 hours and 40 minutes. You lost an hour, but the repair the health bar was reduced so drastically. So either it is a bug, because this was tested multiple times, and there was a huge reduction in the health bar. You did receive a reduction in the repair time, but the health bar was such that if you went into another target, you'd probably die. So you had to repair.
Yeah, it's because whenever you use the new armor, you're losing. Say you put 2 of them on a ship, you're losing 6% of your defense for both pen and corrosive. So yes, you might be doing less repair time total because there's no repair duration, but your fleet's going to go down a lot faster because you've lost a lot of defense, and 6%. When you're
top ends, that's a lot.
Yeah, is a huge amount.
Yeah. So the math goes It depends on your exact build. I'm running scatters, so my resistances are much higher. So it's probably going to be less of an issue for me. And it depends on the exact numbers. But if you're running missiles and you're taking corrosive damage, because you probably have RA3 on there, it can be significant. The thing is, with each pair of armors that you put on, we're assuming that you put on one missile and one corrosive at the same time, which is what you should be doing, because otherwise you're leaving yourself way open to the other damage type. When you put on a pair, you are taking off 1/6 of the repair time of the hull. It's gone down from 4 hours 30 to 3 hours 45 in 2 seconds, but nobody cares. Even I'm not going to round that. So if you are taking more damage, yes, but the lower repair time is going to make up for that in terms of actual time, which is usually the stat that matters. It even has a little bit of extra armor too, just in case. It's like 250 armor more or something like that.
So it's basically going to cater to or be more suited to the scatter fleet, whereby on the missile fleet, because you already have reduced resistances, putting this armor on, you're losing health really quick. And that's not going to work. It will not be a viable option on a missile fleet. So when the armors are released, they need to pre-check that it caters to both kinds of builds, because it's just one fleet or two fleets. It's one hull that is being used with two different builds, but you're losing out on resistances on a particular build, whereby it's catering just to one kind of build on that particular hull, which just doesn't work out.
Yeah, and we're getting that there in chat in the sidebar. I mean, Richard's saying one thing, and then obviously, Wayne's in there as well, and Ford's saying the different thing as well. So I don't know if some are on using missile fleets and some are using scatter fleets, because that would make some sense. Because yes, obviously the CIC for the missile and the missiles themselves, you're getting a different resistance figures than what you're getting for the scatters. So that can make a huge difference, I suppose. But that's something that needs looking into. You're right, Agni. If they've looked at it as a generic item, but then not taking into consideration the two different options, then that is a huge oversight, isn't it?
See, the oversight is right at the core when the CICs were designed, and nothing can be done now, because no matter how the resist percentages are put, right when the CICs are put on a particular hull, that's the Savage and the other CIC, that is where the resistances are already set. So if you're adding in armor or specials with similar resistances, one build is going to be more powerful than the other. So it kind of nullifies or negates the point of giving out two different weapon types, where one fleet is going to be the so-called skill hull is completely weakened, because in these targets, as you see, at a certain point, your skill is not going to really matter 100%.
But the job of these is to save on repair time. That's literally its only job. You need to just buy them in pairs and put them on.
Exactly.
It's going to look bad, sure, but if it shaves 10-20 minutes off of your missile runs, that's what it's supposed to do. It might work better for scatters, and I feel like that might be something that they're doing to kind of close the gap between the two, because that's the difference that you get between missiles and scatters. Is with good driving and a good connection, you can get a base damage that I think I heard someone about 45 minutes per set, whereas I'm getting 2 hours using scatters. And that's just what I get for picking scatters and doing the routes that I do.
Yeah.
But if it changes mine down to an hour 30, an hour 25, and you only lose 10 minutes to my half hour, well, it's still working for you. I can understand it's not working as well, but
it feels more like a balancing act between two fleets, where almost one fleet's doing slightly too much better compared to the other, and they've just decided to put this armor out and sort of hope the people don't complain about the missiles not getting as good a buff.
But would you change it then and actually fit it to the missile fleet? I'm not really sure that you wouldn't better driving, because I mean I've seen some people do some of the targets and get like instant repair on the sea again. I've seen a couple of those this weekend. Videos have been posted.
So on a missile fleet, you basically would take more damage to your health, but your repair time would be better. That is what Brian was saying. And yeah, it does make sense, because that is how they're trying to do the balancing act. You give to take. So you're getting a better repair time, but you've lost health, because armor's saving you the repair time, but you're losing resistances. So yeah, it's either way. It's more a balancing act. It's on each person to take a call on.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I'm full up on Manti. I might have a look at that tomorrow. I'm full up on Manti tokens, and I've got them to collect yet, and I've got points. So I may actually do a couple of refits tomorrow morning, and then compare the two, I think. And then if they're rubbish, I'll take them off.
Another thing, if I may point out, is the trend to go towards everything being a limited item, where it's changing from blueprint only to being limited, where you have to collect. That's fine, but regarding tokens, you're limiting growth in the game.
Yeah,
as I see it, this is not in the top level segment. I'm saying generally for the betterment of the game. You're limiting growth because you're giving out TLCs, you're giving out tokens, and at the same time, people are having to build different ships, so the shipyard is not always free.
I'd almost use the word block instead of limiting. When you've got when you've got shards that are only in the elite targets, and you've got key tech that's needed for future fleets, for raids and FMs that are in locked stores, then you are essentially restricting that to a subset of players.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but was the reason we moved from charged armors to...
I knew someone was going to bring this up. Go on.
To a generic armor was to make it not limited, and now we've got limited armors again.
Yeah, it didn't take long, did it?
Yeah, that kind of is the downside, because just about you're going from specials to armors. First we had something like the agility. Now it's just about every other special being released is a limited item, and that definitely, if this trend continues, it's going to cause more problems for the player base that is already declining. So if you're going to stem the rot, this is not the way to go.
Well, it's a bit like, I mean, going back, when did the Gales first come out? Because they were one of the really first sort of limited things that everyone was like trying to get loads of and then couldn't, and it was all imbalanced compared to the standard sort of like hails and that sort of stuff. It's the same now with the missile defense system, isn't it? 3, which is obviously better, clearly by across all the stats than Phalanx 4. But obviously you can only get it if you're hitting the top level targets. So yes, so there's a block there if you can't obviously hit the S sets. I mean, level 2 is the only one I've got on my Manticore fleet, at the moment. Or not my Manticore fleet, sorry, my Phoenix fleet.
I did like, though, that they released the 2s and the 1s early and in the FM, which is fine for the antis, but the other stuff is still out of reach.
Well, but now we have 3, and 3 is the best. Missile Defense 3 is the best phalanx to ever phalanx. It's longer range, it's better accuracy.
It's got an extra salvo, yeah.
The reload, but nobody cares about the reload. And the thing is, it's not as though we only need this in the raid. We would probably need this in the FM. So unless you have a god tier raid fleet, you can't progress in the FM to the best of the ability possible, because you weren't somehow good in a raid that you didn't know you were being tested on. In addition, this actually ties into the armor too. I hate the armor, the limited armor. I hate it. I don't think it should exist. I don't think there's a limit to the number of those limited items you can claim, as long as you keep hitting to get the shards to get them. But I just said that the limited armor was amazing and that you should put it on all of your ships. But I don't think it should exist, because why did we go through 3 months of playing a raid, etc., where we had a fleet that was almost 24 hours to repair from dead? And no other fleet has ever been that high, unless you're really trying really hard to do something, or your fleet contains a capital hull, which is not really common. Oh yeah, tides in the Harlock tides. Okay, yeah, they screwed that up. But why do we have all this time of a super long repairing fleet just to get things that make it not even normal, but back to the way we expect them to be? with a 3-hour base repair time and essentially no repair time on the armor. Like how charged armor used to be. And now these are 8 million points each effectively because you got to unlock the store and then you got to buy them. Like charged armor used to be. These are charged armors all over again. They just don't want to have to design for charge and the concept of waiting and retreating targets. And I like the idea of not having to retreat from targets, but this is incredibly thinly veiled, what is basically nonsense. I think that the new calm armor should have stayed and they should have had a lowered repair time, and that should have been the baseline, or the hull should have had a lower repair time. And those hulls plus our current armors, not the D6, should have been the baseline for repair that we can expect to see going forward.
Well, I think we've seen the writing on the wall, though, with respects to charged armor and essentially blocking that now too, where you can't retreat from like the SSRBs.
Yeah,
and so
I agree on that.
I'm wondering. Well, we know we've got another 2 arms, so the expectation is that you won't be able to retreat from those either. So, you know, it's not.
I don't. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say I'm just concerned that they're going to start restricting a lot more stuff.
Hey, Earth's in now. Hey, buddy.
Hey, bud, how's it going?
Yeah, good, mate.
A bit late.
No, it's okay, mate. I'm sure you're out hitting bases.
I might have been.
Like you did mine this morning. But had the courtesy to send me a message and say, fix your base. Which is funny.
I always do.
Maybe smart. I have to say.
Send you a message.
It was quite funny. Yeah, so we're just going on about these limited armors that are stuck in behind, and some people with missile fleets are concerned that they're not performing as they wanted, and some people with manti fleets with the scatters are saying they're okay, but it's an awful lot of output for what they're putting on.
Yeah, I mean, because they're like what 2-day refit each.
Yeah, it's not easy, is it?
So
It's like 3 days.
It's like nearly that. I think I changed like one of my sprints over and one of my armors, and it worked out like 2 days and like an hour or something. But yeah, I don't know really. It doesn't seem to be a marked enough difference for me to actually worry about getting it all sorted. And if I didn't have the tokens sat there, then I'd be a lot more annoyed than I am now. Really.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we can look at some of the positive stuff that happened. So this I like, but it didn't quite work out as I thought it was going to. So it's nice when you bring up obviously let's have a look at the targets, and then you say, oh yeah, the 106, locate, go and get it. But every time you kill a target, it's almost like it'd be great if this could just come up and you just go locate and go to the next one, not have to keep doing 3 or 4 clicks on the open water. Oh, I don't know, maybe it shouldn't come up, that sort of stuff. But it just seems a long-winded way. You may just press L and just click the next target. So for me, I mean, yeah, it's an addition, but I don't know. It's not. There's nothing negative about it. I like the feature. It's a good feature. It even tells you which shard is available in those. So that's good. What's recommended fleet? Well, I did manage in the stream to use on the 87s. Only just, I must admit, on the 80s. I managed to use for Phoenix fleet. It was a refitted Phoenix fleet, I have to say, with the Stingers, but I managed to get through that as well. Just out of pure interest, see if it could do it. It did just, but. Yeah, so I like the fact it says recommended. I like the fact that you can see which shard you're going to get dropped from the big one. Forget the fact that it is shards, but the point is you can see stuff. And yes, you can click locator, but in general, it's definitely faster just to click L and then just click the tier and go for it. Well, that's how I feel. I don't know. What do you feel? Does it really matter? Does anybody care? I don't know.
I just hit L, find the thing, and go to the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, L's much faster. The raid interface itself takes too long to load.
To load up, yeah. I thought, and obviously it takes then memory as well and that sort of stuff. Whereas L which just seems to be really, really quick. It's a very clean face, isn't it?
Spawn rates in your sectors. That is another problem. Like they could have done with spawning more than one target.
Yeah, they've done that with 2 before, haven't they? They've done doubles at single places before.
It feels like we're trying to drain the time out of any of your crews because you're having to go from one SSRB halfway across the map to another one.
If you've got a large number of players in a sector, then it just creates more problems. This is a very, very small fix, which they could have done, even a hot fix through the raid running, to spawn at least 2 or more. But yeah, this is a really sore topic which has been there with a lot of people in populated sectors, that just one target per subsector resource base.
Yeah, the other thing I was going to mention today, I saw a few people, and my alliance as well, and that sort of stuff. They're going, "Oh, I'm just taking too much damage," and with these, and let's not be anything other than the expected name of auto fleets and that sort of stuff. I mean, it's a blitzing fleet, and I'm finding I'm having to use it as a kiting fleet as opposed to an auto or generic blitzing fleet, as in just going and charge into and then go to the next sector. I'm finding I'm having to drive past, and the reason is, I mean, forget obviously the missile turret carrier in the bottom, or Ruse trade name, which I like to call it, the fatty. But the 3 ships there, so the prototype. I used to call it a Savage Kodiak, but it isn't. It's a prototype Kodiak, the Proto Interceptor there, and obviously this ammo carrier as well. Each one of them, when you get too close, well, obviously we know the Proto Kodiak kits out the ice field thing. It's got better range than anybody else has got. That's annoying as well. So if you're going to kill those, get in and kill them fast. But the other 2, they spit out like, and you can see the small weapon there on the side. They do spit out like little rockets. And the thing is, even if you manage to shoot all the missiles down, those things are still coming towards you. So whilst you've got really, really good antis, whatever you're using, Phalanx 4 or the new 111, or one of the older ones, you aren't stopping that. So, and it's the same with the obviously the weapon carrier as well, the ammo carrier. That's the same sort of thing. A lot of people are stopping dead, but it's also firing at you because you've got inside their range. So I've managed to knock at least half an hour off of each target just by doing drive-by shooting as fast as I can, because then they're firing at you, but all their rounds that are coming towards you are dropping behind you in the sea, and you're not taking damage. I thought it was invisible damage first, but when I zoomed in a long, long way, actually they do splash on the water, but you've got to be really zoomed in to see the darn things. So yeah, I posted a sort of a picture and video earlier on when I was doing my stream. When was that? When it first started. I noticed it as well, and I've changed the pathing slightly. But the problem is, yesterday, to me, I don't know what you think, but the damage, like Robin said it a long time ago, the sort of like graphic equalizer effect that they keep messing around trying to work out their acceptable amount of damage that we'll take based the return of, potentially for those coiners that were happy to coin the damage. It seemed to yo-yo all over the place yesterday terribly. I stopped playing, actually. I didn't do anything yesterday. I just stacked it because I just couldn't figure out what they were trying to do. 1 minute it was like, 4 coin, and then all of a sudden people were like 7 or 8 coins. I mean, that's a massive jump. It
felt like it was mostly in the 104 as well. The 106 kind of was stable enough, but the 104 was fluctuating a lot.
Do you think they were balancing the one that was for the miss? I don't know what they were trying to achieve. I don't know. It wasn't right. It's not fair. I really generally think it's unfair on the player base to go, whilst we're unhappy, we'll settle on it and just or put up an announcement or do something. You don't just literally overnight, you wake up the next morning, you go into it and you go, I've just taken double amount. Am I still asleep, or what's going on? And then all of a sudden the pages blow up and forums blow up and that sort of stuff. It's, it's highly unprofessional, I think. I know they've always done it.
They just don't test things ever or balance them, or they have a different idea of what they think is reasonable versus us, which is probably the case. I know I saw your recent video that you just put up like today. Like, I'm using your build, and your build is so much fun because I run and I 2-shot, mostly 3-shot the big ships with the turrets. I kill all of them at once, which is great. But like in that video that you have, it's like kiting and being really like on the edge of your range shooting, and you use, and the 104 especially, you use a lot of manipulation to get the ships all drawn together. You have them follow you up and around a cloud of some sort. And that's not blitz hole material at all. That should barely be skill hole material to do some weird AI manipulation like that. But it's necessary. The good news is if you get them close together like that, you'd see in the video, because the build has so much flash, you can kill some of the interceptors before they'd have a chance to fire off at you, which is great. Just a blitz hull shouldn't need that. I should be able to, for the most part, run straight at everything and like kind of cut around a little bit, but that degree of skill shouldn't be required to do well with the auto hull.
Yeah, it is frustrating, I must admit. I mean, I managed to. Oh god, Friday was horrendous. So I managed to get home a bit late Friday. I looked at all the different targets. I looked at the values and the prices, you know, based off of the thing. I went in there. I even went and bought the blimmin' little Apollo fleet that was like $5. I thought, right, okay, I'll have a look at that as well and see how that is for low levels. I tried Skyfires and Phoenixes and I was trying all the different targets and that sort of stuff, you know. And in general, it looked like, oh, it's just a continuation from last time and last time's figures and that sort of stuff. And it did seem okay. So Friday was okay. Then I back to work again. Didn't do a great deal. Thursday was okay. Friday, then I'm like, oh, I was crazy busy. And then all I got on the page when I got back in from fish work was like, it's costing a fortune. It's costing a fortune. I couldn't really see what was going on. And then I did try it myself, literally a target. I went, this is nuts. What's going on here? You know. And then today I went back on. I was chatting to Robin and to Earth this morning on a hangout, you know. And I managed to put a grease monkey on. I did 10 sets in a row. I thought, hang on a minute, this seems pretty, well, not reasonable. What do you call reasonable? But I managed to get on average, it was about an hour and 5 minutes was the average time for each of the targets. So for 10 sets, that's pretty, you know, even. And that's why I put that last video about Brian. But I thought I'd go back and use, because obviously, you know, the grease monkey, if you're leaving it on, gets better as your fleet gets more damaged. So I went back and used the Steelheads crew and still managed to do it for just, you know, about an hour and 5 per target. So it may have calmed down. Maybe they've settled on a figure, but yeah, that was hell for 24 hours.
It was a little blip yesterday, even to the point where like I'd seen it because I'd got in. I hadn't actually hit any targets on Thursday, but I'd hit some yesterday, and it was very, very kind of apparent that at a certain point there was a lot more damage than what there was previous, but then it did settle down again, so I'm not really sure what went on really.
Yeah, pretty weird. I don't know. Anyway, so go on.
Just another thing to note now, the special missile from the Kodiak, Savage Kodiaks, and even the interceptors, now they're creating a cryo field, so that has no damage impact, or would it? The field, not the missile. It's cryo fields just lower your resistances, and at that point when you get hit, you're taking more damage. It's a lot of people do ask whether that cryo field is doing a third kind of damage. Maybe very minimum, but it's just a question.
I don't know, mate. There's a few specials out at the moment, especially some that are actually hidden behind in the lock store, and I'm pondering on their viability and usefulness. And one of them was the armors. I'm debating whether I'm even going to bother putting those on anything. As Earth said, for the return that you get, for the time you've got to, you know, utilize in the dock, I'm not convinced. And if I saw a dramatic change, then fine, but it doesn't seem to be the case, and in some cases it's definitely worse.
I'm curious what the D6M will do on the Dragon.
Ooh, yeah.
Now, if that'll be, I think again it'll be completely dependent on the shift, as said before, from charged pool armors to resistances or whatever they're thinking of.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because right now the primary damage is coming from splash. It wouldn't matter whether you put D6M or D10M or D20M. The splash is still getting through everything. You can negate the rockets, you can negate the motors, you can negate the executioners, but the MIRV, the 4 projectiles from the MIRV, the splash, that is doing the damage. Like I think 90% of the damage is from that. And well, if there can be a way to negate it, good. Otherwise, it's just going to be back to square one.
Maybe that's what the Hyper 30 installation is actually designed for.
But the splash damage, even if the damage is splash, it has a type. Usually it's explosive. I'm sure they could put, you know, some pen damage in a mortar because they do things like that. We have stuff like that. It's certainly plausible. if your explosive resistance is high enough, you shouldn't need splash damage reduction. The problem I see is, what is the minimum damage for these things? Because we have, what, 2,000 siege deflection and 95% resistances. So unless these things are dealing over 40,000 a shot, we are taking 0 damage or less than 0 damage, at which point it becomes the minimum damage. So, like, what?
See, it's
do we even need those?
You remember the raids with the hell rates. Now you could get, I think, the resistance is up to like 98 or 97% on a hell raid. But if that projectile, if you're detected and a projectile hit you, some of them would bring you down to like, what, 5% health? So it was the minimum damage that was so high. And that is a number that they can tweak or play with, is minimum damage. And there is no numbers on that. It's just an undefined parameter that we have to play with, is minimum damage. And that is where we take the damage from. And it can be tweaked to, it's exactly what you said, Brian.
Yeah, are we wasting our time putting all this stuff on that we don't need? Do we need all this resistance? Or can we just get by running charged, even though it doesn't give us the other type of resist, and even though the charge is going to be negated, just like one would expect in this raid, I think is how it works. I think it's one shot and your charge is all gone. I expect to see something like that in the FM. So the question then becomes, if we get our resist high enough, can we run charged or not even bother switching to the D5, XM, whatever, and still take quote-unquote minimum damage? Or do we have to shuffle around to, what, a blade of 3, maybe? Or if we need the resist like on the Greta, why would we even bother? Because we can't get resist that high.
The resist, if they are putting it to the point where charge gets bypassed, then okay, charge armor is gone. Second thing, if they're putting it to the point where there's partial reduction in charge armor, then you're stuck between choosing resistances and charge armors. But with the minimum damage criteria, I think once you are past like 92, 93% resistances, it really doesn't even matter what you have, because the minimum damage is still going to do a whole lot of damage along with the splash. And till you are not sure about what the defined damage type of splash is, like, we can assume it's explosive, but to my mind, it just could be anything, because there is no statement saying the splash is defined in this kind of damage type for a particular weapon. Splash is undefined damage.
The radio in chat, hi buddy, is saying it's ultraviolet damage. I don't know. I don't think we've got a resistance against that.
No, it's microwave damage. It will actually destroy your Wi-Fi.
I don't know if you can see. I don't know if you can see this picture here. I hope so. But from this, so this is a good example. So there's obviously the turret carrier there, the Drak turret carrier, and it's great that we can fire the missiles down again. And that was my key point from last month. And I put that in that raid, that sprints did really, really well last time. But then obviously with the countermeasure change halfway through the month, and my real concern was like, well, our sprint's going to work again, and it's now Phalanx 4s, or obviously the new the new countermeasure. But so you can knock all the missiles down, but you can see the big splash pool right in front of it there. What damage is that? I don't know what it is, but it's definitely causing damage when it lands, and you can't negate it at all. It must be splash damage of some description. You can see it just here, whatever this round bright yellow thing is there. And obviously if you're coming in, as some people do, and get too close, then obviously you're going to be sitting right on top of that, because you obviously can fire much further than the distance I'm in now, because I'm just inside scattergun range for me, but it'll fire when you're sort of like quite far up. So I don't know. And like I said, these ships, but here particularly, but more so the other ones, they'll fire a scatter pellet at you, and you can't stop it. It's just not possible. I've tried it with sprints, and I've tried it with other things, and you just can't. And if you're sitting still, even though you're taking down their missiles, you're still getting whatever this pellet is hit you, and it's so small you can hardly see it.
I've even tried outrunning that pellet, and it doesn't matter.
I can just outrun it, and I don't know whether almost like you want to leave one ship behind and then just go out and charge and run past it and see if you get any damage at all. I don't know, but I think the pellet a little bit like when in the FM, the one that thing that chucks flipping fireballs at you, you know, the randomness of the angle, it almost seems to chase you down the pellets and then just land close to you. I'm not sure what the splash range is. I mean, and then on the flip side of that, yeah, go on. Sorry.
That's another good. You brought that up. Now, what have they changed where the effectiveness of Gales in the nav relays is not as before? We've all got tokens. We've all refitted like to the point of having 2, 3, 4, to the point of having 6 or 7 Gale trees in the last couple of weeks, just wasting tokens to test. But something has changed whereby the evasion on the fireballs is way more, or probably like 5x more than what they used to be. So it's random damage, which is not required in a chore target.
So when you go into the target and you click info and it says damage types, yeah, damage types delivered, damage type received. That's what it says, doesn't it? You know.
That's fine. I'm just looking at the fireball evasion to Gales, which suddenly seems to be way more than what it was, and it's causing damage on a chore target. Like someone's gone in on auto in a 65 with a lesser fleet, and the fleet has almost died from fireball damage.
I don't think that the anti-mortar evade has changed, and that's the problem, because when we were told about the countermeasure change, we were told that all of our CMs had an extra 100% accuracy that they shouldn't have. So instead of the 35 accuracy on your Gales, it was like 70 or whatever. And they changed that back. And they said that they changed all of the other countermeasures, or all of the counterable weapons on the PvE side to match that. And I don't think that's the case, especially in the campaigns where there are just so many fireballs, because there's 3 or 4 buildings next to each other that launch them when they're dead. I think combining those together, you get hit a lot more. And they just didn't change this, and they should have.
They also said that they were changing the, I think it was Night Watch, to fire multiple times at one mort. And from what I've seen in testing, it still doesn't. It'll only fire once, and that if it misses the mort's going to hit you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that was supposed to be changed, as well as the accuracy.
Yeah, that's a thing. Yeah, and right here, I think we're seeing AI manipulation. The last 2 groups in the 104, you should be able to see on your screen. How he goes up and around the cloud like that. He tries to pull the interceptors in, get them all together. And then they're all kind of bunched up. He's shooting them, and some of the ships behind them are dying before they get a chance to fire. And that's how you optimize the auto hull route or blitz hull route. And that's too much optimization for the meh hull. I chose this hull because I have lag in this raid, and I still do. And I've had to come up with some backup strats for lag. Like if I can do that, that's great. What he's doing right now, but sometimes I can't. Like he'll rush in on the 106s and he'll cut off the bottom row of ships and then run up and kill the front 2. But even trying to turn in, you can lag and get hit by the scatters, and that's a lot of damage. So like the backup that I've had to come up with is you wait like 2 minutes, and they've all kind of rounded the corner, and then you can come in from the back, because the 4th turret, the farthest one away, is a missile turret. So I sit there and kill the whole group of turrets on that ship, and I don't have any I can't get hit by the scatters unless there's a major spike. It's things like that. And it's so weird. Like I feel like skill is a lot less relevant in this game now, because unless you have a very good connection and a very good computer and a smartphone, because there's the app out now, it feels like you're a second-class citizen no matter how good you are at games. And for an 8-year-old Flash game, that's not the point.
See, the relevance of
Hello?
Where'd he go?
Has he lost his connection?
I think he might have.
Yeah, Agni's got a bit. I was chatting to him earlier on. He's got a bit of a connection issue sometimes, so he'll be dropping in. But it is a bit of a fraction. Yeah, I don't know. Someone to be earlier on, they were saying they were dropping. They were in the 60s, and they were getting a lot of damage in the 60s. And yet, when you took a Skyfire in, you know, if you let them chain properly, you know, he was getting far less damage, which he would. Then also, if you took in a Phoenix fleet, he was getting less damage on the Phoenix fleet than what he was getting on his Manti fleet in the 60 target. And I don't know. I haven't hit a 60 with a Manticore, but I don't know. Has anybody noticed that? I'm not sure if that's the case or not, but it's because it's tuned for the other ships. You know, we've said the thing. We go into some of those TLCs, and Venom was saying that last time the other day. You're going for an 85 to get some titanium. You seem to take a lot more damage, and some of those TLCs that were on last week. I was driving. I think there was a 7 tier 1, you know, and taking instant fix after each level, that sort of stuff. And yet, for the Manticores, you were taking like 3 hours fix or something like that. And I don't get it. It doesn't make sense.
It's weird. It almost seems like you know how the minimum damage for PvP is different based on the hull and the hull tier? Like the Onslaught 360, but the Hope is like 10, 15, 20. I think it's like that for PvE, where the lower hulls have the lower minimum damage. And because we get the resistances so high and our charge is live a lot, we can get down to that minimum pretty easily. Because that's the only reason that should be a thing. If you're not getting stunned, which is the mechanic that differed the hulls, the Phoenix and Skyfire from the year prior, is stun resist inherent on them, then there shouldn't be a reason. Although it's weird because the Skyfires, they have 2 things in their favor. One, they have the chaining, which is amazing. It's so useful in those campaigns. And also they have their flag, which heals at 8x speed, basically. And those are things that the Manticore doesn't have. And the higher repair time if you have the new armors on them. So yeah, it makes sense that the Mantis would take higher, like it would take longer to repair them, even though it shouldn't. But there's a lot of factors at work there. But I still don't think it should be the case.
Yeah. Okay, let's step away from the raid and raiding and that sort of stuff. We do know that from the FN, there's a couple of new targets coming out. We do know that the 117 is going to die out. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. We'll see when we get the replacements. What is the reason for killing off the 117? Was it a bad target? Was it because we just cannot get our heads around it and build a fleet? Because I can't build a fleet that I find acceptable that can do the 117 good enough. I'm still gone back to reverted to 111s, which is staying, thank the Lord. And I'm using icebreakers, you know, and I'm using on the BP app, which we might get a chance to talk about in a minute, the app itself. You know, I know that there's also some blitz targets coming as well, so that's been announced. But the rapid kill off of the 117 and the introduction of the new targets, I'm not sure why it's so instantaneous. You know, they're not as if they're going to overlap the targets. It's just gone as soon as we finish this raid next week. We're straight into them.
I don't know why there's a blitz target. When you put the FM as the cornerstone of the game and you basically tell the players, they haven't said as much, but considering how much you can get in the FM and what you can do with it, it's the first thing you should be doing. And GDR said so, you know, however long ago. But if you put the basic requirement to do well in this game, difficult to the point where you feel like players would need to blitz or coin, and that player feels that they need to do that in order to do the most fundamental task in the game, you've probably failed as a designer, or maybe that person shouldn't be playing the game. Both. I don't know. It just seems so weird that they're taking this thing and they're changing it, especially after randomly tripling the damage in the 117, by the way. I still remember that. Wasn't that long ago. And they just arbitrarily set difficulty to whatever point they want, but players have to catch up. If you've gone and you've just come back, if you need to build this new hull all of a sudden, and because the Greta is a counter hull, you have to build that differently. You probably have to refit your old hulls, your normal dragons, to get an optimal loadout for this new FM. How long is it going to take you to build this optimum loadout, and how long is it going to even last? The FM as we had it lasted, you know, what, 6-ish months? They sort of changed it in March. They've been changing it between March and July, even though they said they weren't going to. And now they're changing it again when we're still refitting for the thing that's about to happen. We probably will still be refitting even into the first couple weeks of the new FM, these new targets, because we have to finish our Manti fleet. We've got the new skirmish hull coming next month that we need to build. We've got proto fleets to build. We've got other things to build that may not even necessarily be PvP. Like this, it's too hard, and they're just picking and choosing points. If they don't want the Savage in the new FM targets, I think they should just keep the 117 and lock it to Infernos only, Garrison Tier 7 only, like these new targets are going to be locked to. I don't see why they had to take the 117 away. I enjoyed hitting it because I could hit a few, repair overnight, hit a few, go to work, repair while I'm at work, and have a bunch of points. It wasn't grindy, and it was a long repair time, but it was something that appeals to someone that, works for a living. No.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm not sure, mate. So I was just looking on the forum and having a look. So they've suggested. I mean, we'll go back up. So July, obviously, starting on the 7th. I mean, where we are now, but then going right through. Sorry, the 18th or 7th. Then that's the introduction. It's obviously the 121, 120, 117 will stay, but it'll disappear. Then obviously starting the 8th of August. So it is actually staying. Sorry, until the 16th. Sorry, 16th it's staying until. All your dates are the long way around for us English people. And then obviously September, the FM, there is the reduction and the removal of 112 and that sort of stuff. So 112 stays put, but in September that's gone as well. And I know, like Robin, for example, she likes the 112. That's her chosen target. She's built her ships towards that. I'm hoping then that, it's interesting that there is the 121 and the 120 worth the same amount of points, because it's, it just depends on which special you want to get out of it. I mean, you get shards for the Predator, missile and that sort of stuff, and the Cheetah scattergun. Well, that's great, but then again, do we want those for duration? We've only got the textile raid to go, and then we're moving on to something else. So they're going to change the drop in that. Is it just there for to entice you next week to start hitting these targets and having a look? I'm sure plenty of people will, but a lot of people are scared of going anywhere near the 117s at the moment. I don't know. And there's blitz targets down here as well, so that they're coming straight in as well. As you said, Brian, why blitz in an FM? Maybe people do want to get it over and done with, but you used to be able to blitz through 2 or 3 of the old 115s and you were done. And I don't know. And they've gone and suggested builds at the bottom. Look, so there's two options there. So they reckon that you definitely need, obviously, some Gale Freeze and that sort of stuff. And then the rest of them, they just said it's a sprint. That's it. And the rest of it loaded up full of rockets. And
why no phalanx? There's no phalanx on any of those.
No.
It feels like that's something you would do. I don't get it.
So I can only see 2. Oh no! Here's a third.
There. What? Oh.
Equal builds.
Equal builds for. Oh. Okay.
Oh, so
on the first one, it didn't any. Feels like that would have.
So they've got several options here for different things. So.
Okay.
The main issue is, can you trust any of them builds?
I don't like the armor. I've had it on. I've taken it off.
That's one thing I wanted to mention with armor as well. I think I touched on it slightly, but the new armor that's locked to 5, the main damage that we're taking at the moment in FM is missile, so an extra 30% while losing 18% explosive isn't terribly bad. You can counter most of the explosive. So I was wondering the D6M if that would be any good, and on top of that, the other special that you can get from hitting, I think it's the 106. It has evade and anti-splash.
The Hyper 30.
Yeah.
Yes.
It seems like it's tailored more to the Infernos than it is to the Manticores. I don't think there's any purpose of putting them on the Manticores at all.
Well, interestingly, yeah, mate. I mean, I was talking, and sorry, Agni's having problems at the moment. He's got a thunderstorm where he is out in India. But he was saying to me earlier on, so they've been playing around with the hypers quite a bit. And he said on his one of his alliance fleets, they've put a 10 on one, a 20 on another, and a 30 on another, and it's made no difference across the fleet whatsoever. Depending on which ship gets hit, it's the same amount of damage or the same amount of splash ends up being the same. It doesn't seem to be working properly. I don't know if that's the case, but that's what they've noticed so far.
Well, if that's on dragons, then you'd be implying that everything, or almost all of your damage that you're taking, is specific min pass-through.
No, they've been testing it on this raid, mate. On the raid, I think
it was. On the raid, there's no point in putting that on at all. Like, you're facing missiles here, you're not facing anything that's going to really do much splash damage.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is, because I mean the 30's only just come out, isn't it? So you can't really get it in anything else. But.
Yep. But yeah, it looks like
you'd have
just
to put
4 FM. Because
and the hyper third. Oh, sorry.
You've got missiles, which the little green ones are doing splash damage. You've got the morts that are doing splash damage, and then you've got the rockets that are doing splash damage. Everything in the FM's doing splash damage. So your best bet is for something that has the combat speed to sort of avoid half of the splash and then splash reduction, and that has both, as well as having evade. So it looks like it is something that's specifically tailored just for the Infernos, but put in a raid where they're sort of pointing it towards the Manticores, which seems a little bit unfair.
And the thing with that, it matches the speed of the lowered cannon mount, but there might be situations where you don't want the lowered cannon mount. It depends on the ranges of these targets that we haven't even seen, by the way. So it might have to refit a different thing off as well. With combat speed enhancing, things like that, you need to be very careful, or you need to get all 5 to match the fleet speeds. I just want to know when the D6X is coming out, because I haven't put the D5MX on, and because I know they're going to do this for X, like it's 100%. They haven't said it officially, but I can't see why they wouldn't. I don't even think I'll bother putting D5MX on, although they'll probably change it in, if the new target is coming out in August, they'll put it in the September FM. You know, just to screw with us. So we have to refit the armor away, to refit to the second armor, then refit to the third armor. Because that's how they do.
Yeah. I don't know. Don't know what to say, really, to be honest. Let's move on. BP app. Okay, so those of you that have noticed, probably when you logged in, the word went around quite quickly. There's been an update this week to the BP app, so you can now take ships out of your fleet and repair them individually, or put new ships in, and etc. You can also, if you logged in, I don't know if it's still live now, but I think to encourage people to actually start using the app, they actually dropped 50 coins. So if you installed it or you hadn't already installed it, it doesn't make a difference. If you logged on, basically, you got 50 free coin, that sort of stuff. I think a lot of people utilize that because it goes into the real game, not just the app as well. So that was a bit of a gift, but yeah, people are skeptical of the app at the moment. Where is it going and what is it for? It was supposed to be a companion to the game, so you could, just do the chorey stuff quick while you've got 5 minutes. But I don't want to live on the game, because what if I could do? But
app is it's still a helpful addition, because it's nothing at all. You're still able to auto targets at times, and can just build on it and make it better.
Yeah, but I don't want it to replace the game, and I don't want the game to become a phone app game, and not a proper sit down and enjoy your evening type game sort of stuff. So whilst a lot of people use other third line parties to get the proper game onto their phone and that sort of stuff, we don't want to put so much in the app that all of a sudden the game becomes very complex, and the game then turns towards being app friendly and then no longer real time friendly.
Game is already complex. I'm sorry to break this to you.
I mean, I don't know. I hope that's not the case, to be honest. Venom's just saying that the app's still active and you can still get the 50 gold. So
I'm wondering. I'm thinking of some weird dystopian future where because people are at work and have lives and such, but this app suddenly made it a lot easier to do things while you're at work, and therefore players will get more points. And I'm wondering if and when the raid totals for things are going to be balanced to the addition of that. If you can get 20 mil extra a day on Thursday and Friday, players will be getting 40 extra million overall, let's say.
Well, I know for a fact, my brother's in chat there, and he's done the whole of his last raid on the app, nothing else.
Cool. I hope he had fun.
Well, he was at work, not because he works nights. So, you know, and like I said, you know, I've sat at work, you know, well, not sat at work, but in my breaks and that sort of stuff, you know, and sometimes at my desk when I'm waiting for something to load up, and you just go, oh yeah, another 111 target. Thank you very much. Off you go, because the app is quite nice for doing the, you know, sending out your sky files and going in 85 for titanium. You know, if you can manage to find that period to do that during the day and then not have a dead fleet or just fix it, then things are good, aren't they? You know, that's something out the way. So when you come back and you want to actually build something on the proper game in you know the in the shipyard, the Conquest shipyard, you know, then you've got all the titanium you need. I can see that, but it just drags more hours into your daily life, you know. And it's I don't know. Less chores would be nicer, and then don't worry about the app. But you know, it's nice to have. It's linked to Facebook accounts, obviously. If you started off somewhere else, you know, on different sort of like you know, media, then you can't get to the app at all. It's linked at the moment just to Facebook.
If you supported Kickstarter through their own site, get wrecked.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? So you're not only do not get offices like Robin, because she's got no friends. She'd say that when she was here, so I'll say it anyway. That's always her joke. That you know, you can't get the bonuses and that sort of stuff. So it's yeah, slightly frustrating, but I don't know. Right, we've hit the hour. Let's go across the board. Oh, the reason, by the way, Robin said you're only on 20 million, by the way, so far, is she dropped her mouse day before yesterday and smashed it, and then sent her, I think it was a daughter out or something, to go shopping. The daughter got sidelined into buying something really exciting, and when she went to the hardware store and completely forgot to get a mouse. So Robin's got to go and get it herself.
Yes, she wasn't happy this morning.
No, she was not happy at all.
Did she drop it or did she throw it?
I don't know. Well, she got 20 million, so maybe she got the 20 million and went, that's enough, and threw a mouse across the floor and hit the wall or something. I don't know. But then she said, I must go and get a new one because it's now dead. So rage smash, yeah, as Alex was saying there. Hey, G Daddy's in chat. How you doing, buddy? Haven't seen you for a while. That's good. Yeah, so we're on the hour. Sorry, we'll go across the front. Earth, you've been quiet for a bit, mate. Anything you want to bring up particularly, apart from that smashing fleet you've got?
Not really. Good job on Death Wish, getting on my base. Happy days.
Oh, cool.
Luck's a good hit.
Oh, excellent. Okay. PvP. We like PvP. Yeah.
We do like PvP.
We do.
More PvP, less PvE.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Can't do much PvPing on the app, can you? But there we go. None at all.
Well,
I don't know how you would, to be honest, because I don't think there's anything you can do. But
well, the only thing you can do is press repair, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm quite good at that one.
Well, you was good at it this morning, weren't you?
Yeah. Oh, I'm ready, by the way. We'll do it after this.
All right, yeah, we'll sort it out in a bit.
Okay, mate. Venom, anything, mate?
Can they actually fix things when they say that they're actually fixed in the forums instead of telling us they're fixed and we find they're not fixed? That would be fantastic.
Yeah, that's a valid point. Yeah, because some things still, I noticed. I think it was Agni. Yeah, in fact, it was Agni who was saying we tried in the middle of the week that, you know, if your wardens were stuck behind the walls and that sort of stuff, you know, and out of range, you know, they were coming in and they still weren't retargeting and that sort of stuff during the week. And there's some odd things still happening and that sort of stuff in base defense. You know.
Yeah, I sent you a list earlier in the week. It was sloths won't target what you tell them to. Even when the wall, or even when the gate's dead, the sloths still don't do what you ask them to do. The tier 7 turret is just broken, but really randomly it kind of chooses what ship in a specific attack it's going to have a little bit of fun with. So it's still just randomly killing off one ship, but not the rest. 25% in your base. A number of us have
isn't going 25. Yeah, I thought that's
changes
good
daily.
point. Good point. Yeah, because Earth hit me this morning, all right, and we did look at the replays and that sort of stuff. Robin was on as well, and I was like, "Isn't it 25% when the two things, the two traps blow and that sort of stuff?" I thought that was 25%, and I went, "Right, have I got too many turrets in my thing now, or something like that? Something's not right." But I thought those were enough if you had them both up front, if they both blew, that you were 25%ed. But it seems to be fluctuating. You're definitely right.
Yeah, it used to be that. It's now not.
It definitely isn't, because it wasn't.
Yeah.
It is and it isn't. It depends on when you're being hit. It's just a random effect of it'll decide there's 25% now. On the next battle it'll just say, oh no, it's not. It's not stable. The 25% changes from hit to hit.
Yeah, something's definitely wrong.
And then the last thing that I found was antis. One day it'll be really effective, and the next day it'll just not. So, same fleet hit you twice. One time it'll shoot half the march down. The next time it'll just fail to do anything. And I think Agni pointed that out in the SSRB. I think it was with the cheese balls. It does it in PvP as well. It just decides when it's going to be right.
Yeah, it's seen that same thing of, I know it's based on percentage, and Brian did say that they fixed or they brought it down to as it should be, but like you in base hits, I've seen that with a similar fleet hitting me twice or thrice and seeing different results. It could be a lot of parameters, but yeah, that guess a lot of us are seeing the disbalance in that.
Yeah, I thought I might have to just take out some turrets and do some adjustments to make sure I get the, but it isn't consistent, because I watched some of the previous hits on my base and it definitely bubbled when the two things were dead, and now it's not, sort of stuff, and then it was again. It's just random, as you said. It seems to be a sliding effect that one minute it is at 25% and then it's not.
The hardest thing about getting the information gathered for this is it doesn't happen every time. So if you go, say, often you get one of your friends to set a load of items out just to test them, you could be testing all day, have the same results, but someone else come along, say 5 minutes later, and it'll change for them. It's not something that you can accurately test and get information across the Kixeye, because it's just so random, where it'll occur one time.
It's not seemed to be random with me. It just seems to have changed. And it's quite. I'd say it's pretty much on the money, the same every time for me now, and I get hit a lot. So, so I'm actually having to move a couple of things around to try and resolve it. But it's they've definitely changed the value of it percentage wise.
Yeah, I get hit a lot. Also, I just been moving turrets around for the past week, trying to figure out what the hell's going on. But every time I move it, something else has changed. It's never the same twice.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Especially the tier 7 turrets, you just never know when it's going to happen. I've seen it where you've tested the turrets to make sure, right, there's nothing dodgy with the turrets are fine. You go in to do the actual hit, and your ship just dies instantly, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, there's that as well. I've seen that as well.
It's just stupid.
Yeah, I've seen turrets not do anything, and then in the next hit they'll destroy everything. It's kind of a bit odd, but yeah, they need to test it a bit.
Yep. So yeah, back to my original point. Please test things and make sure they're actually fixed before telling us they're fixed.
Yeah, no, I agree, mate. You've only been saying that for some time, to be honest. Yeah, okay. Brian, anything you want to say, mate, before we finish off?
I don't think I've ever had to spend so many raid points on tokens in a raid, especially just to be able to, like, I have to get tech in the raid to be able to do the raid well. So I have to keep buying the tokens and buying the armors to put the armors onto the builds to get them to do better, to get more points, to get more tokens, for eventual refits. Wait, what? What's going on? Oh no, I don't know anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll just say I'll close off and just say thanks to Wayne. He's in the chat as well. Actually, he did us a nice on his Ahoy Mahati thing website. He's got we've got a link on our page as well for it. So he actually put up the raid calculator. There's a lot of players that are dropping off in the game, and some of the things are starting to wane away now. Some of the key items, you know, Larry has finished, as we all know, that sort of stuff. We've all had a really good time using Huggy's shipyard, and Huggy is right on the cusp, I think, of closing his website down. I'm not exactly sure if that's what he's planning on doing, but he did put a little note on his thing to say that things are getting so complex now with the coding that the aim of it is now so problematic that he may make a change and make another announcement later on. So I'm not really sure, which would be a real shame, you know, if that's the situation. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I don't really know, but yeah, it will be frustrating. Right. Anyway, I've got nothing else. If anybody's got nothing else, then I think we'll just wrap it and say I hope you do well for the rest of the raid. Go and get the gazillion points that you seem to need. Hopefully the balance of the damage stays constant now, and at least people can work on what they've got. Because even if you're trying to do live refits, and all of a sudden the damage is fluctuating, you can't work out whether it's doing any good or not. You know, it's hard work. Right. Leave it alone, please, Kicks. Let's have a consistent, you know, damage type and damage, you know, rate. At least then we can work out what our own fleets are, you know, whether it's worth doing adjustments or not. Because at the moment, it's blooming hard to work out. I'll say goodnight. Go on, mate. Sorry.
No.
It's not a strategy game. No, but at least it should be consistent. At least, you know, pick your target, know your target, and then, you know, stop messing about with the targets. Right. Thanks all for tuning in. Thanks all those in chat. Thanks, like I said, I know Robin's having problems in there, so she's back in the chat as well. Thanks, Robin, for staying on with us. Wayne, thanks very much, like I say, for the calculator. It's been really, really helpful, mate. I added it all up, and it was like gazillions for me, so I was like, flipping heck, I'm going to just go and do as much as I can, and then I'll worry about what I'm going to need afterwards. Frustrated about the tiers, you know, putting the two ships on the ladder then next to each other. I think, as Venom was saying, the flagship now for the Mantis probably should be down the bottom, and maybe as someone else said, the Ifrit or whatever they want to call it, okay, whatever language it is, maybe that could have been on the opposite side instead for those that didn't manage to do the which has happened before. Those that didn't manage to do Bounty 11, it could have gone in there, and that's been a way they could have got it as well 2 weeks later than everybody else. But that's an afterthought. Hopefully, let's think, raid's finishing Tuesday. Probably not going to be the update. It'll probably be on Wednesday, to be honest. But we'll do our best. If it's on Tuesday, we'll be on Tuesday. If it's on Wednesday, then we'll be posting the show for Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll say good night. Good night, all.
Good night, everybody.
Night, everyone.